In studio with me tonight is Coach Emmanuel Bellas, who is here to talk to us about the team's recent defeat, 6-0 against Team USA in this year's CONCACAF Under-20 Championships. Now, as I just said, you guys lost 6-0. I know you all went into the match obviously optimistic about winning, but unfortunately you lost.
Yes.
From your point of view, what happened?
Thanks, Chloe. Thanks for having me. I think we need to first understand who it was that we were coming up against. And you know you're going to come up against the number one female nation in the world. So therefore, from December last year, when we started with our training session, we had a plan in mind that we had to ensure, yes, you're playing against the USA. Yes, it is going to be 11v11, but you must not lose sight of the reality that you're coming up against a tough opponent. And you've got to ensure what you must do is ensure first that your defense is as solid as you would like it to be. So a lot of our training session was centered around ensuring that our defense was as solid as we would have liked it to be. We got up into the Dominican Republic not really knowing what to expect in terms of the result, because in as much as we had our plan all set up from December, based on the little that we knew about the USA, when that tournament started in the Dominican Republic and you started looking at the games and doing a little analysis of the USA, you realize then maybe some of your strategies would need to be changed based on how it is that they attacked. So that did not give us much time in terms of changing or making whatever changes that we had to do. But that notwithstanding, I still think that we went out there, and the girls have to be commended for the effort that they put. Because granted that we lost the game 6-0, there probably could have been persons who were expecting the defeat to be worse. But credit has to go to these girls, especially for what transpired during the second half. Because we would have realized that yes, we conceded 4 goals in the first half, but from the time these girls left the playing field during the end of the first half to the time they got into the dressing room in the walk during the tunnel, the discussion was them taking responsibility as individuals and as groups in terms of what transpired there. They looked at what it was that went wrong, and they decided by the time that they got into the dressing room that they were not going to get back on the field in that second half and concede another 4 goals.
Yeah, because y'all actually did raise your defense into the second half, and it was kind of hard for USA to even get a goal until the last couple of minutes.
Yes, because that obviously would have been different, because if you're defending, you're almost defending with 10 persons. You almost have nobody up front to give you that kind of support.
Okay. Well, again, in the first half, you all had an own goal, and then again for the 4-0 scoreline. In that very moment, I know you just said you had to change up your strategy, but what is it that you actually did other than defense? What is it that you spoke to the girls about?
I think one, you have to try to give the girls confidence. You must let them know it's going to be 11v11, and in as much as we conceded 4 goals in the first half, I do not think I was too critical of the girls during the first half, because I understood the nerves that they went to. I understood that some of the girls, in the first 10 or 15 minutes, they were a bit lost in terms of the game. So you had to give them time to make sure that they settle in. We looked at some of the areas where we were a bit deficient during the first half, and then we discussed that in the second half. Some of the girls who were not actually doing what they were supposed to be doing in terms of giving the defense more support, we looked at some of these things and tried to execute a little different during the second half.
So, again, Team USA, big team. Obviously, it's hard to defeat. If it was a different team you're going up against, you think you would be able to win?
I'm not sure about being able to win, but what I know, certainly the tactics that we use would have been different. Had you been playing something in the Caribbean where you believe that you could have matched them, your tactics would have been different, because we realized that the USA team, they are a bit stronger than our girls physically. They are quicker than our girls, so you've got to make sure that if you go up front and you've lost that ball up front and there is a transition or a counter-attack, that your girls are nippy, mobile enough to get back here. So you've got to consider all these things. So then you've got to ask yourself, what do you do? Do you take a chance of going across to see if you can get 1 or 2 goals and concede 3 or 4? Or do you just stay back and ensure that you keep your gate closed?
Now, you earlier mentioned about preparation and you all started training in December. Obviously, that's not enough time.
Yeah.
Especially going up against Team USA. Why did you start so late, though?
We went to Guyana in July because we played the preliminaries in Guyana. After we came from Guyana, on that team you have about 8 under 17 girls. The under 17 also had a CONCACAF competition.
Yeah.
So the team had to be broken up with that under 17 to get them prepared for that tournament. In September, we had a senior tournament in Jamaica. So you have some senior players on that tournament. So they have to concentrate on that aspect of it. Soon as that was over, there was a national under 23 or senior female competition. So we had to ensure that all of these got out of the way before we called training session together. Because had we been calling training session all that time, it's only a skeleton set of persons that you would have gotten. So you wanted to ensure that they got through all of this and call the team back in training.
Okay, because I was questioning myself, like, why did you start preparing so late? Because to me, that's not enough time.
Yes, because it's never enough time. Yeah. But as I said, these are some of the things that we had to work against.
Okay, well, and during a previous interview, I think probably last month or something like that, we spoke to the girls and they were lamenting that, again, the competitiveness, the people that they actually go up against is not up to the level that they need to be to really say that they could improve on their skill. What are your plans to really change that for them to up their level?
What has to happen now, we have to try to see how much we can have these girls step up the opposition that they're playing. Truth be told, you almost cannot put these girls to play against another female team because the bulk of that team now is your national senior team. So you're going to, any female team that you come against is not going to give them the competition. So we have to think out, and when I say we, I'm talking about the SLF and everybody else.
Yeah.
Do we take them out of St. Lucia to bring them on tours to play against competitive teams? How is it that we can do that? Do we have the resources to do that? Do we consider playing them against a lower age male team? So these are some of the things that we have to, because there is a difference between training throughout and actually getting in the match, because you can do everything that you want in training session because you only training against your peers, which may or not be a little lower than your own standard, but when you get against the competition, it's a different set of thing. So we have to decide now, how are we going to get these girls into playing at a higher level? Do we put them against under 15 boys? Do we put them against under 17 boys? Do we take them on a tour to one of the Caribbean islands and where we have a tri-nation tournament to see where it is that we are? So these are things that are in the mix that we've got to try to see how we can best work on.
In fact, that's something I was having discussions with someone else saying that, you know, football again is a more male dominant sport, and if you're trying to improve on the female aspect of it, you know, guys obviously need to have more competitions for the women. And I was saying that what are the plans for the SLFA to really improve on that? Will they have a women's football league like Grenada and St. Vincent? They're currently improving on their women's football league.
Yes, we certainly have, because the SLFA has done three things. One, they are the sponsor of female football at the primary school. So there's a primary school female football competition. Okay. The SLFA has also implemented what you call an Adopt a School program, where 8 secondary schools have been identified. And at these secondary schools, we have 20 boys and 20 girls in a football program, a specific football program, that they train about 3 or 4 times a week. And these persons, they are all under 14, because the intention is to grow that team and ensure that female football does not take a downward slide. In addition to that, there is also, as I mentioned, we had a female competition last year about November. There is one scheduled to start this month, another female competition. So all of that is in an effort to ensure that we push football, push football. Because we've been working along with the Free Kick Foundation in the last 2 years. We've had a number of our females who have left St. Lucia and have gone out to scholarships in the USA. So it is apparent that the SLFA is doing its utmost at this time to ensure that we can push these girls forward. Because I need to highlight as well, these girls that we have there, most of them who are still in school, we need to encourage them as much as possible. We have a very good bunch of girls, and we have to ensure that they do not get frustrated.
Okay, now speaking about the Free Kick Foundation, other than them, especially since you all just went up to the United States, but Dominican Republic. Were there any scouts there that saw their talents and were interested in them at that time?
There was a gentleman who spoke to me, and we mentioned some of the other players. But as I said, we just had an initial discussion. I am not sure what I should make out of that, because he did identify some of the players. He did mention that he would have gotten back in touch with me. He also mentioned that he'll get back in touch with the president of the Football Association and see what can be done. But as to whether he was a scout, as to whether there were other scouts there, he probably wouldn't know. Nobody came to me excepting that gentleman.
Okay, well, hopefully these girls do
Yes,
get
hopefully,
through,
yes.
because I know, in fact, some girls have been coming to the studio and they're kind of excited about the Free Kick Foundation for when they get probably 15, 16 years old to kind of have that opportunity. So I'm happy that you all are having things in place for that. Also, speaking about football in general, what are the plans for this year, 2020?
I think what has happened now from the SLS standpoint, we've just started the second division and the first division tournament. And persons would have realized that unlike the previous years where you would have 2 or 3 games being played during the week, that now has changed. So we've got 2 games per week, first division, same for the second division. Because SLFA, not just SLFA, but the all member associations of FIFA now have now been mandated to run competitions at the different age levels that must span a period of 6 months, and within that 6-month period you must have a total of 90 games, because that entitles you to get certain amount of funding from FIFA. So what the SLFA have done is that we have run the first and the second division with the amount of teams which is going to give us just a little over 100 games in order to get some special funding from FIFA. So yes, people would have seen over the last couple of years, you would have had football on a Wednesday, on a Saturday, but now you've got the first division being played only on Wednesday, because the number of teams that you have in the first division, if you play these tournaments twice or 3 times a week, it is not going to give you the 6-month span. So as FIFA mandated that you must run these tournaments for 6 months, and not only at senior level, you must also do the same at junior level, both male and female. In addition to that, your national teams, male and female, must play a minimum of 5 regional tournaments, whether it be friendly or whether it be competition, all in an effort to get some special funding for FIFA.
So where are all these matches being held?
Well, the first division matches, which have started about a couple of weeks ago, are being played at the Philip Masley grounds in Vieux-Fort, and the second on Wednesdays, and the second division games on Sundays are being played at the Technical Center in Larissus.
And the junior competitions?
The junior competitions, how the junior competitions are run, the leagues, each league or each zones are expected to run the competition during a certain period of time, because we have that period. And when it gets to the knockout stages, then the SLF will bring all the first and second groupings of the different leagues together at one venue. But because of the age group and the time that it's going to be played, because most of them may be played during the school holidays, because they will be played during the day, so you play them in your zone, and then the winners and second place of the four zones, then they get together and you extend the competition.
Okay, so from your observation in terms of the juniors, where do you see them in the next 5 years?
I think what has happened now, I think we must give credit to Coach Faso for what he's done with some of our juniors, because our under 15 team, they were under 15 last year. Yeah. Year before they were under 14. I think it was Caymans, wherever it is that they went to, they played undefeated in that tournament. They won the under 14. Last year they went up to Bradenton in Florida in the second division, under 15, played unbeaten. That was the first time St. Lucia has ever won that tournament. Yeah. Most of these boys now are now at the Sports Academy. They are now getting ready for the regional under-17 competition. What the SLFA has done in order to give them more match practice and prepare them, they have taken that team and put it in the second division competition, which is the national competition. Mm-hmm. They have played 1 game thus far, and they have won that game by, I think, either 8-1 or 8-2. So it means that team, you're looking at 2019 and 2018, this set of boys have not lost 1 game, and they probably have played close to 15 or so games. So there is, and that encourages us in terms of where the youngsters are going to be. So it's a matter for the SLFA, and I don't think it's only the SLFA, because anyhow that we want to qualify for any regional tournament, it's not the responsibility of the SLFA. It's the responsibility of the whole of St. Lucia, both private and public sector. Everyone must come together and give these boys or the girls, whoever it is that they are, all the assistance that is needed.
Okay, so what you're saying is like in the next 5 to 10 years, St. Lucia's football leagues in terms of women and male is going to be A1000.
Well, I wouldn't say A1000, but I'm expecting that there's going to be some vast improvement with the support of everyone on board. Yes, we are going to get the criticisms, because if you do not get the criticisms, then you are not going to grow. But if you're going to criticize when it is good, if you've got some positive advice or positive contribution to make, that is going to be welcome just the same.
Okay. Well, anything else you'd like to say before you leave?
I think I would just probably like to take this opportunity, of course, to thank the girls for the performance that they put up against the USA in the Dominican Republic. We have a set of youngsters. Our under 14s are also in training as well. That's our under 14 girls. So that is another team that we have training. I want to wish them all the best because they would be going to Bradenton in Florida in July as well. The youngsters who are at the academy, I want to encourage them. I want to thank all the coaches and all the administrators from all the leagues who have worked with all these teams. Just need to let persons know that football development is not just the responsibility of the St. Lucia Football Association, but it's the responsibility of the whole of St. Lucia.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here right now. We really do appreciate you.